The Philippines is looking into the possibility of transforming two islands, previously part of a U.S. Navy base, into military reservations to enhance its presence in the South China Sea. Grande and Chiquita Islands are located in Subic Bay, which was once a large U.S. base, until the Philippines turned down a lease extension in 1991, leading to the U.S. military's withdrawal a year later. The site has since been converted into a special economic Freeport zone. This conversion could help secure the Freeport and an international airport to support the Philippine Navy in establishing a base in the region. Grande Island serves as a strategic observation point, providing a clear view of key shipping lanes in the West Philippine Sea, including Bajo de Masinloc, which pertains to the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone in the South China Sea, and the disputed Scarborough Shoal. Maintaining the Philippines' sovereign rights in these waters is a high priority for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration, which has encountered ongoing disputes with China regarding the presence of its Coast Guard and fishing militia in contested areas within Manila's EEZ. The Philippines intends to reopen sections of the Subic Naval Base by 2028 to support its expanding navy. In addition to Subic Bay, the Philippine Navy plans to activate new naval bases in Mindanao. This expansion of naval facilities will aid the military modernization efforts to accommodate a growing number of modern and larger vessels acquired by Manila under the revised Armed Forces Modernization Program. Current infrastructure is insufficient to meet the rising demand for naval services, prompting the search for new military facilities. The modernization of the armed forces is not just about acquiring new equipment. It also focuses on empowering the Philippine Navy with the skills, knowledge, tools, and support necessary to protect national interests. The port and nearby Clark Air Base were once part of America's largest overseas military presence, but were damaged in the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo and were returned to the Philippines shortly thereafter. The Philippine Navy is already utilizing portions of the former Hanjin shipyard across the bay from the naval base, but it requires a larger facility as Manila plans to grow its fleet rapidly while facing off against Beijing over control of the South China Sea and nearby islands. The Philippine administration has announced that construction will soon begin on Naval Station Nabasan, located near the bay's entrance and close to the planned military reservation on Grande Island. Further developments are also planned for Chiquita Island, which is strategically positioned toward the South China Sea. Historically, Subic Bay has hosted colonial-era naval bases from Spain, America, and Japan. Today, it serves as a base for Philippine forces and allows international partners such as the US and France to dock. The US Navy is considering the area for pre-positioning Marine Corps equipment and aims to establish a large storage facility within 100 kilometers of Subic Bay by 2026. This facility, expected to be climate-controlled, will range from 19,000 to 33,000 square meters and will be leased for 10 years, potentially marking the largest pre-positioning initiative between Washington and Manila since 1992. According to solicitation documents, the facility will be used for the storage and maintenance of vehicles and related equipment. While the Navy prefers a 33,022 square meter facility, the minimum requirement is 19,979 square meters, significantly larger than a previously leased 5,300 square meter warehouse at the Naval Support Depot in Subic Bay, which supports U.S. Marine Corps operations in the region. Navy documents specify that the climate-controlled facility must be located within 60 miles of the Naval Support Depot and under the jurisdiction of either the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority or the Clark Economic Freeport Zone. Subic Bay, formerly Naval Station QB Point, sees a surge of American military activity every spring as U.S. forces arrive for joint exercises. Recently, the area has been under scrutiny for alleged Chinese espionage activities, with reports of U.S. vessels being observed entering the strategic bay in preparation for the upcoming Balikatan 2025 exercises. If the project meets Navy specifications, The planned warehouse dimensions in Luzon would surpass Norway's largest Marine Corps prepositioning stockpile at Trosnes. The solicitation also requests numerous maintenance shops for electronics, vehicles, and communications equipment, although the storage of munitions was not explicitly mentioned. An armory high-security modular facility is expected to be provided by the Marine Corps, with approximately 69 to 100 personnel anticipated to work there. Amid escalating tensions in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, U.S.-Philippine defense cooperation has resulted in an increasing number of American troops training alongside local forces in drills like Balikatan. However, these forces face infrastructure challenges due to the departure of American military bases over 3 decades ago, which included the loss of storage and maintenance facilities. If pursued, the lease would enable U.S. forces to store and maintain equipment in the Philippines from 2026 to 2036, with no renewal options specified. In recent years, American investments in enhancing military infrastructure have grown at Subic Bay and the 9 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement sites, which allow rotationally deployed U.S. forces and American-funded projects. Additionally, the U.S. will assist Manila in constructing a new naval pier at a Philippine Naval Base in Subic Bay. A 15-meter by 155-meter finger pier is planned at the Naval Operating Base, home to the Philippine Navy's patrol vessels and frigates. Foreign military financing for the Armed Forces of the Philippines will support the Naval Sea Systems Command's International Fleet Support Program Office, known as PMS 326. The construction of the pier will be undertaken by Subic Dry Dock Corporation, a Philippine company. In 2022, Manila activated a base across the bay from the former American installations at the old Hanjin Heavy Industries shipyard to accommodate larger warships at a strategic location in western Luzon for operations in the South China Sea. Before the opening of Naval Operating Base Subic, the Philippine Navy had to rely on civilian ports to dock its vessels. The Philippines has leased about 100 acres of the former shipyard, which is now owned by the U.S. private equity firm Cerberus Capital Management. To enhance its fleet, amid rising tensions with Beijing over territorial disputes in the South China Sea, the Philippines has procured new frigates, patrol vessels, and corvettes. Many of these warships are the first of their kind for the country, which mainly operated World War II-era surface combatants until the mid-2010s. Currently, Manila's fleet includes Hamilton-class cutters, Indonesian amphibious vessels, and Korean frigates, already occupying most of the berthing spaces at Subic. The service expects to receive up to 8 additional warships, 2 frigates, and 6 corvettes from Korea within the next 4 years, but the available space at Naval Operating Base Subic may not suffice for this expansion. Since the two countries strengthened their defense and security ties last year, the U.S. has increased its infrastructure support, particularly around 9 Philippine bases under the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. This agreement allows American troops and facilities to be rotationally deployed at mutually agreed sites. Although Subic Bay is not part of this agreement, developments around the former U.S. Navy base are still of interest to Washington and its allies. Despite the withdrawal in the 1990s, American forces have frequently utilized Subic's civilian facilities for refueling and repairs. The Pentagon has considered the Philippines as a potential site for a military repair hub. According to reports, Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries, the builder of the Philippine Navy's latest warships, has also secured a lease from Cerberus for the construction of offshore wind platforms at the shipyard. In line with this, the Philippine government plans to restore Subic Bay Airfield for maritime operations as part of its defense strategy against China's aggressive actions in the West Philippine Sea. A new forward operating base to support reconnaissance and attack aircraft will be established at Subic Bay International Airport, as indicated in Philippine Air Force bidding documents and development plans. This new forward operating base is designed to host maritime patrol assets, fighter jets, missile storage, and a large hangar for upcoming surveillance aircraft. The Philippines aims to create a new base on the site of a former American naval air station at Subic Bay to enhance its aerial surveillance and power projection capabilities in the South China Sea, as plans to fully develop the former naval base are underway. Although the plan was announced nearly a decade ago, it was only this year that the Philippines service invited companies to bid for the project, driven by tensions from China's construction of artificial islands in the South China Sea. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, aim to rehabilitate the air and naval facilities at Subic Bay Freeport, located in the central part of Luzon. Subic Bay, a deep-water harbor 50 miles northwest of Manila, served as the logistics center for the U.S. 7th Fleet until November 1992. This initiative will enable the AFP to rapidly deploy fighter jets and frigates to respond to any contingencies in the South China Sea amid China's maritime expansion in these contested waters. Previously, the site of the U.S. Naval Air Station at Cuby Point, Subic Bay International Airport was established following the broader U.S. military withdrawal from the Philippines in the 1990s. Since then, both Philippine and American military forces have returned to facilitate resupply, refueling, and repairs for vessels. Subic's port facilities also support the delivery of U.S. military equipment during bilateral exercises, as tensions with China over territorial disputes have heightened. Acknowledging its defense shortcomings, Manila is committed to restoring military infrastructure at Subic Bay, especially given its strategic location near Scarborough Shoal. The Philippines established the Subic Naval Operating Base in 2022, which occupies 100 hectares of the former Hanjin Heavy Industries shipyard, now owned by American firm Cerberus. This base has become crucial for the Philippine Navy, as it can support the largest U.S. military vessels. A similar initiative is underway at Subic Bay International Airport, where the Philippine Air Force has identified the airfield's proximity to Scarborough Shoal and the South China Sea as essential for constructing a forward operating base. The AFP aims to use Subic Bay International Airport as a staging point for joint air, sea, and land operations under its strategic basing plan, which seeks to establish points across the archipelago to project forces beyond territorial waters. The existing runway could accommodate surface attack aircraft for both land and maritime missions, according to Philippine Air Force bidding documents. Preliminary bids, estimated at around $2.5 million, focus on housing and security upgrades, but future plans for the airfield include basing fighter jets, missile storage, and a large hangar for upcoming surveillance aircraft. Documents indicate a long-term vision for a dedicated drone and maritime patrol base at Subic, with the Department of National Defense directing the Philippine Air Force to enhance basing and hangars for these reconnaissance aircraft. The government's initiative to develop Subic Bay as a military facility was first announced in October 2012, shortly after China occupied Scarborough Shoal. Officials confirmed that Subic Bay, once the home port for the U.S. 7th Fleet, would serve as the primary staging area for American naval activities in Southeast Asian waters. Plans for a new naval support base in Mindanao aim to facilitate troop transitions in Cabid, which currently hosts airfield services and vessel repair facilities at the country's oldest shipyard. This base would extend the military's sustainment capabilities deep into the southern archipelago, strategically located near the Sulu Sea. Chinese warships have used this maritime choke point in recent years to navigate between the first and second island chains. Philippine forces in the region have reorganized into commands focused on territorial defense, and bilateral exercises with U.S. Marines centered on the defense of the Philippines have begun to occur in these waters. Manila's pursuit of enhanced defense infrastructure has intensified nationwide amid rising tensions with Beijing in the South China Sea. The Philippines initiated a military modernization program in the early 2010s following the Scarborough Shoal incident, which exposed its military inadequacies. However, due to outdated equipment, the AFP must both acquire new assets and develop modern infrastructure to support these modernization efforts.